The Genosha Massacre is one of the most brutal events that has occurred in the X-Men animated series. It is wild how the series still manages to deal with the entire scenario. Even though there's some clarity regarding who is responsible for the massacre, we're not sure what this villain holds for our favorite mutants in the future. But the killings do remind us of the value of Genosha and the legacy of this place that is supposed to be a haven for the mutants, even though it has some of the darkest events in mutant history. One particular event from the comic books comes very close to the massacre we witnessed in the animated series, and the person responsible for it had her ways that weren't very far from Bastion's. Let's take a look at who this individual is and how she managed to conduct a genocide in Genosha. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. What happened at Genosha? Continuing the legacy of our favorite mutants, X-Men 97 has admirably maintained the original series' tone and the plot's authenticity, staying true to the comic book narratives. This faithfulness is evident as each episode references significant events from the comic books, offering a fresh perspective while staying loyal to the source material. The return of our significant heroes and including some key characters is a testament to the series' commitment to the original run back in the 90s. But one of the latest episodes of the series sure takes things too far with the level of seriousness that they have brought into the narrative. Episode 5 of the animated series, titled Remember It, took things to a whole new level even, and worked like a gut punch to the fans who were just getting used to watching some of their favorite heroes making a return to the format. The episode had a perfect parallel by carrying two parallel storylines about the X-Men being interviewed by a reporter. At the same time, a few mutants went to Genosha with a new negotiations for the mutant country. While we witness the characters' internal conflicts from the previous episode rise with the interviews conducted by the reporter, the ending comes off as an absolute twist, leaving the audience intrigued instead of resolving these conflicts. Scott Summers, torn between his love for Jean Grey and the mother of his child, Madeline Pryor, desperately needs clarification. Meanwhile, Wolverine, in his characteristic protective nature, tries to help Jean, and suddenly, the two are reminded of the time they were romantically involved. While these emotional storms are brewing in the X-Men estate, Magneto puts Rogue in a difficult situation by asking her to join his side and leave Gambit. When Gambit finds out about this, he asks her to get back to Magneto when he realizes the factors that work when it comes to the two working out ideally for each other. While the episode portrays Genosha as a peaceful haven for the mutants, far from the hate the humans continuously poured into them, the place has a dark and tragic history. Even before it was promoted as a haven for mutants, it was ruled by Bolivar Trask, Cameron Hodge, and Henry Gyrick, who enslaved the mutants and put them to work. They were all captured by Sentinels and made to work on building the Master Mold, but things went haywire when they got hold of the X-Men. Gambit managed to free himself, and Cable joined him in freeing all the mutants. Soon, Magneto managed to take over the country and make it a haven for the mutants. Still, his plans of dominating humanity continued until Xavier left before making him promise to change his ways. Magneto changed his ways, and in this episode, we saw him being elected president of Genosha. Things would have gone according to plan until chaos was unleashed as an army of Sentinels attacked and killed many mutants. Amongst the X-Men, we witnessed the death of Gambit as he continued to fight the Sentinels till his last breath. But there were a lot more casualties in this war, and the city was utterly destroyed. The state of Genosha was a representative of the mutants in the world, and they were now broken, since the only town that gave them any hope was also shattered. Fans were waiting for future episodes to get a proper explanation of the turn of events at Genosha, but we only got more twists on the way. Xavier was alive and going to marry Lilandra in the Shi'ar Empire, but this was disrupted by his realization of the events of Genosha, and he planned on returning. However, the same episode also indicated that Mr. Sinister was involved in the Genosha Massacre somehow, as he was seen attacking Bolivar Trask, and it was noted that there was a larger plan at work. The 7th episode introduces us to the natural person behind the events, Bastion, and there is a lot more left in his plans as we see Trask was turned into a Sentinel himself, a new breed of the mutant annihilators. comic version of Cassandra Nova's Genocide at Genosha. After the large number of theories that the fans had regarding this character, it is wild to imagine the path that the series took. Fans only have more theories for the series' future. But what about the comic book storyline? There are various storylines where we see mass destruction in Genosha. Each story has a unique plot. Let's look at some of them and focus on one that comes close to the X-Men 97 plot, only for the villain to be much more sinister and ruthless than Bastion. The Age of Apartheid storyline focused on how there was a crackdown on the mutant population in Genosha, and children were regularly tested for the X gene. If someone were found with a gene, severe actions would be taken against them, and their rights be taken away. These mutants were further operated upon and converted into mindless beings called mutates, who would be forced into labor with their memory removed. The mutant abilities they possessed were brought into the front in a way that would benefit the labor instead. They weren't able to use them against the government. Following an uprising when the X-Men were captured in Genosha, significant changes were brought into this country, and mutants experienced a certain freedom. Later, Magneto and his acolytes came here, and the UN handed over the country to him based on his demands for a mutant state. These would be the better days for the country until the legacy virus outbreak, during which the government would become a haven for many infected mutants. However, the cure for the legacy virus would bring back Magneto's intention of mutant domination over humans, as he now had an entire army of healthy soldiers to fulfill his goals. However, during a battle against the X-Men, he was mortally wounded and had to abandon his plans for world domination. Again, Genosha would undergo some peace now that it was not being governed by someone planning to attack the humans, and mutants would find a country for themselves here. But the idea of a mutant isn't something that sounds fair to many people in their world, and soon, this peace will be snatched away too. This temporary peace would be turned into absolute chaos with the act from none other than Charles Xavier's twin sister, twisted, psychic Cassandra Nova. In the ES4 Extinction storyline, Cassandra takes Bolivar Trask's inheritor, Donald Trask III, on a lesson about how the mutants would take over the world. She shows him a typical example of survival of the fittest in the human evolution chain, with the example of how the Homo sapiens sapiens replaced Homo sapiens neanderthalensis because of their features of being a more intelligent, faster, and more aggressive species. Later, she indicates that this will be the case for the modern world too, when the Homo sapiens superior, the mutants, take over the modern world unless they are exterminated. All of this was a ploy from Cassandra to convince Donald about the danger the humans face against the mutants, as Trask was her only means of using the Sentinels again because of his genetic code. Meanwhile, Xavier was busy getting used to Cerebro's big sister, according to the Beast's words, and increasing the range in which Xavier could find mutants. Yes, again, the Cerebro sister would help Xavier detect that his sister is up to something. The Marvel writers deserve the credit for these tiny details. Cassandra takes Donald to Ecuador, where the government has been working on a master mold secretly, with AI also becoming a part of the Sentinel technology. As they approach the master mold, the Sentinels kill all of Cassandra's men, and she mentions that they are all expandable. But then, they focus on Donald. This moment is where we find that anyone with Trask's DNA controls the Sentinels, and hence, when Donald speaks up, the killer robots stop and start saying, "Preserve Trask DNA." Xavier discovers some problems in Ecuador with using Cerebra and asks Cyclops and Wolverine to check it out while he continues to use the new technology. Soon, however, he is taken over by someone other than Cassandra, who tells him she will use him to cause chaos. Charles manages to get out of Cerebra, but is weakened by the attack he faces. He only manages to warn Jean about the possibility of an attack on the mutants. As Cassandra and Donald enter the Master Mold, Wolverine and Cyclops reach the place in their jet, and the Sentinels attack them. The two X-Men are surprised by the odd looks of these new Sentinels, and even though they manage to fight a few, they are ultimately captured by the robots. Cassandra makes Donald release 4 supersonic Sentinels in what she calls the most densely mutant-populated place in the world. As Donald starts questioning the ramification of what he has done, Cassandra reveals that throughout their entire interaction, she has managed to copy the 3 billion base letters in his DNA sequence and kill him. She then proceeds to kill Wolverine, but Logan manages to escape the bounce and pounces at her. With his claws against her temple, Wolverine warns her from making another move, but she keeps laughing and saying that she has made her most significant move and there's no turning back. In Genosha, Emma Frost is seen taking a class with some young mutants when suddenly a massive attack is launched by the Sentinels, and the city bursts into flames as a giant Sentinel walks around the island. Xavier picks up the reading from Cerebra as the mutant population continues to go down. As the X-Men reach Genosha, they discover that nobody survived except Emma Frost, whose entire body had become a crystal to help her survive the attack. Xavier states that around 16 million mutants had been killed in the attack, and they held Cassandra captive while they tried to study her. Hank discovers she is a particular case among mutants beyond most. He also revealed that Cassandra might be the next genetic order in human evolution to take over the world from humans. This fact clarifies why she was trying to eliminate the mutants, as they are the only species between her kind and the humans. Before they can continue, Cassandra escapes and starts going toward the Cerebra, which she could use to kill every mutant using its wide range. The X-Men try to stop her, but they fail until Emma Frost manages to snap her neck, and when she starts healing, Xavier kills her with a gun. Yeah, it's not a very interesting ending to a villain who managed to kill these many mutants, and it also comes as a very shocking move from Xavier as he killed her. Xavier is known for helping the mutants, and the particular case of Cassandra could have been used for many things in the future, but it seems that the massacre put a heavy toll on the professor, and he had to deal with it in this manner. This particular arc inspires a lot in the story we witnessed in the X-Men 97 storyline. When the X-Men hatched Genosha, they also discovered that Emma Frost had survived because of her mutation, as her entire body turned into a crystal. Even the fact that Cassandra had to use Trask's DNA to control the advanced Sentinel robots is very similar to the ongoing arc in the animated series. However, there's no clarity regarding the number of mutants who were killed in the massacre, even though we did see a lot of them getting brutally killed by the Sentinel robots. Based on this storyline, we can only figure out that the writers of the animated series are ready to take some of the darkest details from the comic books and bring them to the front. There were numerous theories about the possibility of Cassandra being behind the massacre, considering she is also about to appear in the upcoming MCU project Deadpool and Wolverine. It would be the perfect way to give us an idea about Cassandra before she makes her live-action debut soon. But Bastion is pretty ruthless too, as he might not hold back any punches with how he deals with the entire scenario and his knowledge, including being aware that Xavier is alive. We will only get clarity and a proper hold on the upcoming events when the mutants regroup with their original leader, Professor Xavier. The latest episode proved that Magneto had survived the attack in Genosha and was held captive by Bastion. Considering that Magneto once aimed at dominating the world with mutants, Bastion might have some personal issues with Magneto, or he might plan to bring Magneto and convert him into one of the Sentinel humanoids like Bolivar Trask. Marvelous verdict. We got our first look at Cassandra Nova in the new trailer for Deadpool and Wolverine, and she seems like an interesting villain for two of the best Marvel heroes to go against. Even though there's no clarity yet regarding how ruthless this rendition of her character will be, there are chances that she might be responsible for the trouble that Deadpool is facing when his universe is in danger. There's a scene from the trailer where we saw Logan facing the loss of the X-Men, as revealed by the dialogues, but it's not exactly sure if Cassandra had any hand on this. The writers of the X-Men 97 series have a lot of tricks up their sleeves, and it won't be surprising if we see Cassandra being among them soon. And if you liked her content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone!